What's up, my friends? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to another video of working on the Evo 10. Took me a few tries, but I was able to get the wing finally painted, finally got the base coat on with no issues. The clear coat turned out really nice. There are a few dirt and dust nibs in here and then a couple of runs on the back side, but I should be able to get those sanded and polished out. After that, I should be able to get this thing reassembled and back on the car. Stay tuned. If you weren't able to catch the last video, definitely go check it out. I had more issues with laying the base coat on. I decided to just give up on blending everything completely. I sanded everything down to the bare plastic, put down some high build primer on everything, got it all blocked out. After that, I was able to lay the base coat on with no issues. Clear coat went on with no issues, aside from, like I said, the few dirt and dust nibs that are in there. It's always to be expected when painting in a garage like this. So I'll get those sanded and polished out, no problem. And then over here on the back side, there is a run at the very bottom down there. You can kind of see that little bubble sticking out. Should be able to easily shave that down and polish it out. Same thing over here on the other side. For some reason, it tended to run a little bit on these little edges. There's one more little bubble right there I'll have to shave off and then polish. For anyone who's new to the channel, I have spent the last year painting pretty much this entire side of the car, both of the passenger doors, the side skirt down there. I am a newbie. I am not an expert painter, so I had some issues along the way. I was able to correct everything. Everything has come out great so far. The wing is the last big piece that needs to be painted and go back on the car. I'm going to get started on sanding all of the dirt and dust nibs up top. I'll get all of this sanded and polished out. Once all of this top side is done, I'll start working on the little runs on the back. All of the dirt and dust nibs that were in there are sanded and polished out. Everything came out looking absolutely amazing. I've had to do this process with everything that I've painted. Because I paint in the garage, I kind of have to just accept that there's going to be dirt and dust nibs that get in the paint. I've got the garage door closed down so that you can kind of see a little bit better in those lights. As far as everything that I use, the process that I go by, I'll show you what I've got. To initially knock the nibs down, I use these little sanding blocks. They come in this Tolcut system. I did use up most of the sanding pads the kit comes with, so I did order some of this extra 1500 grit. It's pretty much the same kind of sandpaper that comes in the Tolcut system. This is just to knock everything down initially. One key thing that I've learned is to try to keep it localized. Don't spread it out. Just use that block, use the corner of the block. Wherever that nib is at, just try to knock it down in that one little area. Once everything is flattened out how I like it, I move on to the 2000 grit. So 1500, then 2000. With the 1500 grit, I do use it dry. With this, I do add water. Again, the biggest thing is just keep it localized. All you're trying to do is remove those 1500 grit scratches at that point. Do you want to go just a little bit beyond the area that you did with the 1500 grit? That way you make sure that you get all of those edges. After that, I move on to the DA. I use these little Hercules pads that I get at Harbor Freight. This is the 3000. I also have the 2000, but I ran out of it. You do use these wet. Start off with the 2000 grit. Again, trying to keep it as localized as possible. It is on the DA, so it's going to hit a little bit larger area. Once I'm done with the 2000 grit, there's usually just a few shiny areas that didn't get hit. After that, I hit it with the 3000, just go over everything, hit everything with it. From there, it's just compound and polish. So I've got the compound here. I use the coarse pad. Again, I get these at Harbor Freight. This is something that I've learned is very important. You want to make sure that you use the right pad with the right compound or polish. This coarser pad with the compound does leave some little swirl marks. So if you get a little light like you saw me using, you can actually see little swirl marks after using the compound. That is why I finish it up with the yellow pad over here, which is the soft pad, and then I've got my polish over there. After that, everything turns out like this, and it looks amazing. Now that all this top portion is finished off, I'm probably going to get some new microfiber towels. That way this top side has something nice and soft to lay on. I'll get it flipped over, and then I'll start working on those runs. Both runs are all sanded down. Everything is polished up. Everything came out really, really nice. I do get a little nervous when I'm sanding down these runs because I have burned through them before. I'm not sure if you can see that in there, but there are a few little pitting spots. All that is solvent pop that was underneath. It's the air bubbles that did not make it to the surface to actually pop. And then as I sand those down, it actually sands into those air bubbles, and then you sand over them, and then it leaves those little craters on top. Luckily, this piece is on the bottom. You're not going to see it. The run that was there, you would notice that from the side. But overall, everything came out looking really, really nice. Everything is nice and smooth and nice and flat. If you saw on this side, I did have it taped all the way up here. It was a little bit of a sag all along this edge. Over here on this side, same thing. If you look, that run is completely knocked down there. Did have a little bit of the solvent pop right in there and then right on this side. But aside from that, everything is nice and smooth. Everything is nice and shiny. As I was sanding both sides, I did a few different things as far as my sanding goes. I started off with this 1500 grit just like I do with my dirt and dust nibs. It took a very, very long time to knock those things down to where I wanted it. Once I got to the second run on the other side, I just went straight to the 2000 and wet sanded it. That seemed to actually knock it down much, much quicker. Now that I got all these runs sanded sanded down and polished out, I am ready to actually get the wing put back together. I'm gonna go ahead and get all of the masking, all of the tape off, and then once this thing is fully back together, we can get it installed on the car. Wing is almost completely put back together. I've got all of the plastic back on here. Everything went on actually pretty smooth, no issues at all. I was worried that when I peeled the tape up, some of that weather stripping that was under there, it was going to peel it up with it, but it actually didn't. I was able to reuse everything. Did not completely finish putting it back together because I wanted to show you one little part up here. This seems to be the hardest part as far as taking this wing apart. All of the other pieces go on with just normal bolts and screws. Obviously, if they put these rivets here, there's a reason why they did it. I tried to find something else that was low profile enough for everything to fit on there. Could not find anything else that was going to work like the original OEM rivets. Everything else that I could find just came too high, and so that little black clip that sits on top would not go over it. I came across these pill type rivets on Amazon. They're almost the exact same thing as the OEM ones. Biggest differences are this is an OEM one. You can see how tiny that little circle is. You saw how big the one is on the back side that I used. This is one of the ones before I actually peeled it. Much bigger. Luckily, I did not have to shave it down any. It still fits flush. It should fit no problem on the back of the trunk. The one thing that I did have to do differently though is because this thing sticks out so much further, as I stuck it through, I did about 3 pulls on the riveter, just flipped the wing over and then cut off all of the stuff that was already peeled off. From there, just peeled the rest of it and it was the perfect amount. So you can see here, this is what it's going to look like after. It is a little bit longer than what the OEM one looks like. The OEM ones were a little bit shorter. They curled just a little bit more. This is going to work out perfect though. Everything sits nice and flush up against that. That little black piece, I've already put it on top to make sure everything goes over it. I have not done the other side yet. I wanted to make sure everything worked out on this side first. Now that I know we are good to go though, I'm going to go ahead and get the other side done over here. After that, I will get this thing mounted up to the trunk back there, get it ceramic coated, and this thing should be completely finished off. Evo 10 wing is 100% finished off. It is back on the car. Super easy. You just line up the bolt that goes through the trunk on both sides, and then you've got the one plastic clip that goes in also. Once you've got the wing on, just put the bolt in on both sides that's underneath this plastic clip. After that, you just lift the trunk up and you will have your one nut that goes on that bolt. Then you'll have one more bolt going through right there. Before ceramic coating the wing, I did want to get the car all cleaned up. When you add a ceramic coating, it's not supposed to see water for at least a few days. So I did go ahead and pull the Evo out in the driveway. I got it all washed up, all cleaned up, got it back in the garage, dried everything off, and then got everything ceramic coated. Stepping back, looking at this is such a huge accomplishment for me. For the most part, I literally spent all of 2024 painting this side of the car. If you've watched in my other videos, I've told you this front door took me a long time. It was the first big piece that I ever painted. Had some complications, had to repaint it, learned from my mistakes, was able to paint the rear door, the side skirt down here, and obviously the wing in the back. The car looks absolutely beautiful. I am just extremely stoked and excited with how everything came out. From here, I've just got a few little details that I want to do to the car, and for the most part, I will be finished with this project. I have not driven the Evo in over a year. When I started this, I had to remove both doors. Because of that, I also don't have the car inspected or registered just yet. I've had the battery unhooked over the winter so that it doesn't die on me, so I am going to have to run another drive cycle. That's what I will be doing in the next video, along with getting this thing inspected and registered. If you like this video, if you enjoyed it, if you learned something from it, please hit that like button. If you want to see more going on with the car, see this thing finally get taken out for a drive, hit that subscribe button, and I will catch you guys next time.